Never tell people what you do. Never reveal your strategy. Never allow your enemies, or even your so-called friends, to see the hand that moves your pieces. Machiavelli said, "Fear the man who hides his plan." Why? Because the hidden plan is unstoppable. You cannot destroy what you cannot detect. You cannot sabotage what you cannot predict. You cannot outmaneuver what you cannot see. The greatest power lies not in noise, not in exposure, not in validation, but in silence. Look around you. Most men destroy themselves with their tongues. They brag about their goals. They announce their next moves. They expose their ambitions, thinking it makes them appear confident. But what it really makes them is vulnerable. The moment you speak your plan, you hand someone else the power to interfere with it. You give rivals ammunition. You give doubters permission. And you give enemies a target. But the man who stays silent, he terrifies the world. No one can predict him. No one can control him. No one can stop him. He moves like a shadow, unseen, unheard, unstoppable, until the day he arrives with victory already in his hand. This is the law of secrecy. Protect your plan as if it were your life, because in truth, it is. Silence is not weakness. Silence is not shyness. Silence is not fear. Silence is control. Silence is strategy. Silence is the discipline of the man who knows that true strength requires no announcement. Understand this. People crave information. They probe, they ask, they pressure. Not because they care, but because they want to measure you. They want to know if you are a threat or if you are harmless. The moment you reveal too much, you confirm it for them. You either hand them relief or you hand them weapons. But when you remain silent, when you hide your moves, when you mask your intentions, people become uneasy. They start guessing, they start imagining, and in their imagination, you become larger, stronger, more dangerous than you even are. That is the power of secrecy. Mystery builds fear, mystery builds respect, mystery builds control. The strongest generals in history won wars, not because they were the loudest, but because they concealed their true intentions until the enemy was already defeated. The most feared leaders didn't announce their strategy. They revealed it only in execution, when it was too late for opposition to matter. This is how you must live. Guard your goals. Build in silence. Work in the shadows. Show the world nothing until showing them becomes undeniable. Until your results roar so loudly they cannot be ignored. That is when you win in public. Never forget, the loudest man in the room is often the weakest. The quiet one, the one no one can read, the one who never reveals what he is building. He is the one to fear. So I ask you, do you want to be predictable or do you want to be untouchable? If you understand this truth, comment right now, "My silence is my strategy." Because the man who hides his plan is already halfway to victory. Part 2. Why people fear the unknown. People fear what they cannot see. They fear what they cannot measure. They fear what they cannot predict. This is one of the oldest laws of power. The unknown terrifies more than the known threat. Why do you think Machiavelli warned rulers to hide their true intentions? Because once a man cannot read you, he is forced to imagine you. And the imagination is far more terrifying than reality. When you reveal your plans, people feel safe. They know what to expect. They know how to prepare. They know where to attack. But when you hide your intentions, they feel vulnerable. They begin asking themselves, what is he planning? What does he know that I don't? What move will he make next? That constant uncertainty becomes your weapon. It keeps rivals cautious. It keeps enemies hesitant. It keeps everyone else walking carefully around you. Understand this. People fear the unknown because it removes their sense of control. The average man clings to certainty. He wants to know what tomorrow holds. He wants to predict outcomes. He wants to believe he understands the world. When you shatter that illusion, you destabilize him. You force him into a state of anxiety. And anxiety leads to mistakes, hesitation, weakness. That is why you must master the art of unpredictability. Hide your moves, conceal your motives. Let them think they know you while you prepare something entirely different. The predator who is silent in the grass is far more feared than the one roaring in the open. The silence breeds terror because prey cannot know when the strike will come. You must embody that silence, that uncertainty, that invisible threat. Look around in your own life. Think about the men who overshare, who reveal every detail of their goals, their next steps, their desires. People laugh at them. They lose respect because everyone knows what's coming. Their enemies prepare before they act. Their rivals strike before they rise. Now think about the man who says nothing. The man who builds quietly, without exposure, without announcement. His silence makes people uneasy. They whisper, "What is he working on? Why hasn't he said anything? What's coming next?" That unease is power. That unease is leverage. That unease makes the world react to you while you reveal nothing. You see, people don't just fear the unknown. They respect it. The unknown forces them to prepare for the worst. It forces them to assume you are more dangerous than you are. That is how you control perception without speaking a word. Machiavelli understood that ruling was not only about force, but about perception. When people cannot read you, they inflate your strength in their own minds. They prepare for 10 strikes when you only intend 1. They exhaust themselves in paranoia while you remain calm, silent, calculating. This is why you must become unreadable. When they expect fire, give them ice. When they expect movement, stay still. When they think you've disappeared, strike from nowhere. The more you disrupt their ability to predict you, the more power you gain. Never forget, fear of the unknown is primal. It lives deep in the human mind. It is why darkness terrifies. It is why silence unsettles. It is why mystery commands attention. Use this law. Be the darkness they cannot see through. Be the silence they cannot interpret. Be the mystery that gnaws at their thoughts. Because when they cannot define you, they cannot confine you. Comment this now if you understand. I am the unknown, and they will fear me. Because in the end, it is not the loudest man who wins. It is the man no one can read, no one can predict, and no one can stop. Part 3. Building in silence. The world doesn't reward noise, it rewards results. You must learn the art of building in silence. This is where true power is forged, not in public, not in applause, not in validation, but in the shadows, where no one is watching, where no one can interfere. Understand this. Every time you announce your goals, you weaken them. You give others the chance to doubt you, distract you, or sabotage you. But when you build quietly, you protect your vision. You protect your energy. You protect your throne before it even exists. Think of it like this. A seed grows underground, unseen. It develops roots in silence before it pierces the surface. If it tried to sprout before it was ready, it would be crushed by the elements. You are that seed. Build your roots in silence. By the time the world sees you, it will already be too late to stop you. Noise is a trap. Validation is a drug. Every time you reveal your progress for attention, you drain the power of momentum. You trade real achievement for temporary applause, and applause never builds empires. Silence, however, is strength. Silence protects your moves until they are undeniable. Silence starves your enemies of information. Silence shields you from sabotage. Silence gives you time to sharpen yourself into something unstoppable. Building in silence means your work speaks for you. No explanations, no defenses, no justifications. Just results so undeniable they silence every critic. By the time they realize what you've done, you've already won. This is why most men never rise. They need to talk. They need to show off. They need to be seen working more than they need to win. But you are not like them. You are not here to be seen. You are here to conquer. The Machiavellian man knows this law. Appearances matter most when results are revealed, not when they are being built. Let others waste time proving they are trying. You will spend that time becoming unstoppable. And here is the dark truth. The fewer people who know your moves, the fewer who can block them. Secrecy is security. Mystery is leverage. Silence is the foundation of dominance. Think about predators. The lion does not roar before it hunts. The snake does not hiss before it strikes. They move silently, unseen, until the kill is guaranteed. That is how you must operate. Every day, you build in silence. You move one step closer to making your enemies irrelevant. They cannot fight what they cannot see. They cannot stop what they do not know exists. They cannot prepare for a plan they do not know is unfolding. So guard your vision like a weapon. Keep it hidden, sharpened, locked away until the moment you unleash it. When that moment comes, let the results speak louder than any words ever could. Remember this: the man who builds in silence controls the narrative. He decides when the world sees him. He decides how the world interprets him. He decides when his rise is revealed. That is real control. So I ask you, will you keep feeding your plans to the crowd for scraps of validation? Or will you starve them of knowledge until you appear with a victory they cannot deny? If you understand this truth, comment now. I build in silence. I win in public. Because only the silent builder earns the right to roar when the empire is complete. Part 4. The danger of oversharing. The most common mistake men make is this: they talk too much. They reveal their dreams. They broadcast their plans. They explain their moves before they make them. And in doing so, they kill their own power. Oversharing is self-sabotage. Every word you speak about your next step is a weapon handed to someone else. Enemies gain targets. Rivals gain time. Doubters gain fuel. You become predictable, and predictability is death in the game of power. Machiavelli warned rulers never to reveal their full intentions, because once people know your plan, they can prepare, they can resist, they can undermine. But when you conceal it, when you wrap it in silence, they are left blind, and the blind are always vulnerable. Understand this: not everyone around you wants you to win. Many will smile to your face while secretly praying for your failure. Every detail you reveal feeds their strategy against you. Even friends, even family, sometimes without meaning to, can leak your vision to the wrong ears. Oversharing is a crack in your armor, and the world is full of men waiting to exploit it. And even if no one sabotages you directly, oversharing weakens you. How? Because talking creates the illusion of achievement. You feel a false sense of progress simply by announcing your intentions. Your brain rewards you with dopamine for words instead of results. That's why the loudest talkers are often the smallest achievers. They already spent their energy on appearances. True power is reserved for those who can resist the urge to overshare, those who can withhold, those who can endure the silence while others beg for attention. That restraint is strength. That discipline is control. Think of a general in war. Would he reveal his battle plans before the fight begins? Would he announce where his army will strike? Only a fool would do that. And yet, most men live their lives like fools, telegraphing their every move, announcing their every ambition, exposing themselves before the fight has even begun. The wise man does the opposite. He cloaks his intentions, he conceals his progress, he lets his actions appear only when they are too strong to be stopped. That is how empires are built. That is how enemies are crushed. That is how legends are written. Oversharing also breeds envy. The more you reveal, the more you invite jealousy. Jealousy is poison. It creates hidden enemies, even among those you thought loyal. The less people know, the less they can envy. The less they envy, the less resistance you face. So guard your words like treasure. Speak only when necessary. Reveal only what strengthens your position. Let others wonder. Let them speculate. Let them drown in curiosity. Their uncertainty will do more for your power than any explanation ever could. Never forget this law. Words are currency, and the more you spend them carelessly, the cheaper they become. But silence compounds in value until it explodes into undeniable results. So the next time you feel the urge to share your goals, stop. Ask yourself, does this make me stronger or does it make me weaker? If it makes you weaker, remain silent. Remember, oversharing is exposure. Exposure is vulnerability. And vulnerability is death. If you understand, comment this now. I reveal nothing. I move in silence. Because the man who overshares will always be defeated. But the man who keeps his secrets becomes untouchable. Part 5. The Shadow of Mystery. Mystery is a weapon, and in a world where everyone is loud, predictable, and desperate for validation, mystery is terrifying. Machiavelli knew this. People fear what they cannot read. They fear what they cannot define. They fear what they cannot predict. When they don't know who you truly are or what you're truly planning, their minds begin to work against them, and in their imagination you become far more dangerous than you even are. This is the shadow of mystery. Think about it. The man who explains everything, who reveals his thoughts, who constantly exposes himself, he is easy to read, easy to control, easy to dismiss. But the man who speaks little, the man who keeps his intentions hidden, the man who cannot be read, that man unsettles everyone around him. Mystery forces people into submission without you ever lifting a hand. Their uncertainty becomes your control. Their confusion becomes your advantage. This is why you must cultivate an aura of mystery. Speak less than necessary. Appear in places unexpectedly. Be unpredictable in your moves. Show parts of yourself strategically, never the whole. Let people guess. Let them argue. Let them wonder. Because the more they speculate, the more power you hold. Mystery also builds respect. Think of leaders, conquerors, even modern figures who rarely speak yet command entire nations of followers. Their silence, their unpredictability, their aura of mystery, it creates a gravitational pull. People respect what they cannot fully understand. The shadow of mystery protects you in ways brute force never can. When people cannot define you, they cannot confine you. They cannot categorize you. They cannot put limits on you. You exist outside their control, outside their understanding, and that makes you untouchable. Understand this psychological truth. People would rather face a known threat than an unknown one. The known can be managed. The unknown is limitless. The unknown keeps them awake at night. You must become that unknown. But here is the key. You cannot fake mystery. Mystery is not about pretending to be deep or playing games. Mystery is about restraint. Mystery is about discipline. Mystery is about showing only what you choose to show and concealing everything else until the moment it serves your rise. Think of a predator in the wild, the snake hidden in the grass, the wolf that appears at the edge of the firelight. They don't announce themselves. They let their presence linger just out of reach. And that lingering presence is what terrifies prey. You must become that lingering presence in the world of men. Let others waste their lives broadcasting every detail. Let others chase validation by oversharing. You will remain silent, unreadable, untouchable. And when you finally move, when you finally reveal what you've built, the shock will be greater than any words could ever create. Mystery is the difference between being common and being unforgettable, between being ignored and being feared, between being dismissed and being respected. So I ask you, are you ready to stop being predictable? Are you ready to cloak yourself in mystery until the world has no choice but to respect and fear you? If you are, comment this now. I am the shadow they cannot read. Because the man who becomes a mystery becomes a legend, and legends are never defeated. Part 6. Silence as a weapon. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is not weakness. Silence is a blade, sharp, invisible, and more deadly than words. Machiavelli understood this. He knew that when a man speaks too much, he exposes himself. He gives away his fears, his desires, his insecurities. But when a man is silent, no one can read him. No one can predict him. And what cannot be read cannot be controlled. Silence is psychological warfare. In conversation, it breaks weaker men. They stumble, they over-explain, they reveal more than they intended, all because your silence forces them to fill the void. Your lack of response becomes pressure. Your calm becomes intimidation. Your stillness becomes dominance. The average man fears silence. He rushes to fill it. He confuses noise with power. But the wise man knows silence is control. The less you say, the more weight your words carry when you finally choose to speak. Consider this. When you reveal nothing, every gesture, every pause, every word becomes magnified. People hang on your silence because they do not know what lies behind it. Is it anger? Is it strategy? Is it indifference? That uncertainty gnaws at them. It destabilizes them. That is why silence must be wielded as a weapon. When confronted, don't explain. Pause. Let your silence unsettle them. When challenged, don't react. Stare. Let your silence break their confidence. When questioned, say less than necessary. The power of mystery is born from silence, and the fear of the unknown grows in silence. Even in your rise, silence protects you. Work in silence. Move in silence. Build in silence. Appear only when the victory is undeniable. The world should never see your process, only your results. And here's the truth. Silence enrages the weak. They demand attention. They demand response. They demand validation. When you deny them that, they feel powerless. They become frustrated, and frustrated men make mistakes. Your silence becomes their downfall. But remember this, silence must be intentional, not passive. It is not the silence of a coward avoiding conflict. It is the silence of a predator watching, calculating, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Think of the serpent. It does not hiss while stalking prey. It waits silent until the strike is certain. That is how you must use silence, as the precursor to precision. And in leadership, silence is even more powerful. The loud ruler is dismissed. The boastful ruler is mocked. But the silent ruler, the one who rarely speaks, commands greater weight when he does. His silence builds anticipation. His words become law. This is why the man who commands silence commands fear. So never forget, silence is not absence. It is dominance. It creates pressure, builds mystery, and gives you the advantage. Ask yourself, do you waste energy proving yourself to others, or do you let silence build your legend? If you understand, comment this now. My silence is my weapon. Because in the end, noise is temporary. But silence, true, controlled silence, echoes forever. Part 7. The Fortress of Self-Control. Power means nothing if you cannot control yourself. The man without self-control is already defeated. He may be strong, intelligent, even ambitious, but if he cannot master his impulses, he will be ruled by them. This is why you must build the fortress of self-control. Understand this. The world is full of men who destroy themselves because they cannot govern their emotions. One word spoken in anger, one decision made in lust, one weakness indulged in greed, and everything they've built crumbles. Their enemies don't even need to attack. Their lack of self-control does the job for them. Machiavelli understood that the greatest rulers wore masks, not because they were fake, but because they controlled what the world saw. Emotion was a tool, never a master. Rage could be shown when it inspired fear. Kindness could be shown when it secured loyalty. but internally, they remained cold, steady, untouchable. That is what self-control gives you, the ability to decide when and how you reveal yourself. Consider this. Anger is predictable. The man who cannot control his temper can be provoked into mistakes. Desire is exploitable. The man who cannot control his lust can be manipulated by pleasure. Ego is fragile. The man who cannot silence his pride will chase validation straight into a trap. But the man who controls himself, he is unreadable. He is immovable. He is untouchable. Nothing outside him dictates his moves. He acts only when it benefits him, never when pushed by impulse. That man is dangerous because you cannot bait him, you cannot manipulate him, you cannot predict him. Building self-control requires ruthlessness. You must kill your excuses. You must discipline your emotions. You must refuse to be ruled by comfort. Every temptation resisted, every impulse mastered, every weakness destroyed. These are the bricks of your fortress. And once that fortress is built, no one can penetrate it. Insults slide off, manipulation fails, temptations lose their power. You become a man who answers only to his own will. This is the fortress of self-control, cold, unshakable, relentless. From this fortress, you wage war on the world. From this fortress, you expand your power. From this fortress, you dominate, because you cannot be dominated. Think of the men who shaped history. They were not perfect, but they were disciplined. Caesar, Alexander, Napoleon. They all had the ability to endure, to control, to wait, to strike only when the moment was right. That patience, that restraint, that mastery over self, that is what separated them from the masses. And you must do the same. Do not let your emotions control your destiny. Do not let weakness guide your path. Build yourself into stone. Control what you feel. Control what you reveal. Control what you choose to act on. The man who rules himself rules everything. So I ask you, are you the master of your impulses or their slave? Are you the fortress or the man wandering outside its walls, waiting to be destroyed? If you understand this, comment right now. I rule myself, therefore I cannot be ruled. Because once you build the fortress of self-control, no enemy can break you. No temptation can own you. No weakness can corrupt you. You will be untouchable. Part 8. The advantage of patience and timing. Impatience is the weakness of the masses. They want everything now. Results, recognition, rewards. And because they rush, they collapse. But you, if you want to rise, if you want to dominate, you must master patience. You must master timing. Machiavelli knew this truth. Wars are not won by the fastest strike, but by the right strike. The predator that lunges too soon starves. The ruler who acts too early falls. The man who cannot wait destroys himself. Patience is not laziness. Patience is calculation. It is the discipline to endure, to watch, to wait for the exact moment when the world is most vulnerable. That is when you strike, not before, not after, but at the moment when your victory is certain. Understand this. The man who controls time controls power. When you can delay gratification, when you can resist impulses, when you can wait while others burn themselves out, you win without even fighting. Most men reveal themselves through impatience. They show their plans too soon. They act without preparation. They collapse under the weight of their own urgency. That is why the patient man always wins, because he lets his rivals destroy themselves before he even moves. Timing is the sharpest blade in your arsenal. When you act at the right moment, you appear unstoppable. You appear inevitable. You appear as though destiny itself bends in your favor. But that illusion is created by discipline, by waiting in the shadows until the strike cannot fail. Think of the archer. He does not release the arrow the moment he draws the bow. He holds, he breathes, he waits until the target is aligned, still, vulnerable. Then he releases, and the arrow never misses. That is patience. That is timing. Or think of the serpent. It waits, coiled, still, minutes, hours, days, and then strike, swift, precise, fatal. The prey never had a chance. You must become that serpent, that archer, that predator who wastes nothing, who waits for the moment that guarantees the kill. Patience also builds psychological pressure. When you do not react, when you do not move, when you wait, others grow nervous. They wonder what you are planning. They reveal themselves out of anxiety. Their fear becomes your advantage. Your stillness becomes their weakness. But hear this: patience without action is cowardice. Timing without execution is useless. You must not only wait, you must strike when the moment comes. That combination is what separates rulers from slaves. So study the world, study your rivals, study yourself. Learn to see the moment when the gate is open, when the enemy is weak, when opportunity is ripe. And when that moment comes, do not hesitate. Strike with all the force you have held in reserve. That is how legends are made. Remember, fortune favors the bold, yes, but only the bold who understand timing. Impulsive men die early. Patient men rule long. So ask yourself, do you have the strength to wait? Do you have the discipline to endure? Do you have the courage to strike only when the moment guarantees domination? If you do, comment this now. My patience is my power. My timing is my victory. Because in the end, the man who masters time masters everything. Part 9. The isolation of the ascendant. The higher you climb, the fewer will stand beside you. Not because you chose loneliness, but because greatness demands it. This is the isolation of the ascendant. Understand this. Most men cannot follow you where you are going. They do not have the discipline. They do not have the patience. They do not have the stomach for sacrifice. They will cling to comfort while you march into discomfort. They will chase validation while you chase power. And the gap between you will grow. At first, they will cheer for you. Then they will question you. Then they will resent you. And finally, they will fear you. Because the man who rises beyond the herd becomes a threat to the herd. Do not mourn this. Do not resist this. Embrace it. Because isolation is not punishment. It is purification. When you strip away the noise, you discover who you really are. When you walk alone, you sharpen yourself against silence. When you stand without support, you learn that your strength comes from within, not from applause. This is why the ascendant always walks alone before he walks above. The loneliness is the crucible. The silence is the training ground. The absence of validation is the test. Most will fail this test. They cannot endure being misunderstood. They cannot endure being doubted. They cannot endure being isolated. And so, they never rise. But you must endure, because once you pass through isolation, you emerge untouchable. Think of the mountain peak. It is sharp, it is cold, it is barren. Few can climb it, few can breathe its air. But from that peak, you see everything, and everything beneath you belongs to your vision. That is the position of the ascendant. That is the position you are building for yourself. Machiavelli knew rulers could not live as the ruled. They could not share the same distractions, the same weaknesses, the same comforts. Power demands separation. Power demands distance. Power demands a man who can stand apart, because only then can he stand above. Isolation also protects you. The fewer people who know your mind, the fewer who can sabotage it. The fewer people who share your path, the fewer who can betray it. Solitude is not weakness. It is armor. But understand, isolation is temporary. It is the stage before domination. You separate to build. You rise alone so that you may return with power too undeniable to be ignored. When that day comes, new alliances will form, new followers will gather, new networks will gravitate toward you. Not because you begged for them, but because you became too strong to be resisted. This is the paradox. To lead the many, you must first walk apart from the many. To gain the loyalty of others, you must first master loyalty to yourself. To rule the world, you must first rule alone. So ask yourself, do you have the strength to stand in isolation? Do you have the will to endure the silence, the doubt, the resentment of those who cannot follow you? If you do, then comment this now. I embrace isolation, for it forges my ascent. Because in the end, only those who endure the cold silence of isolation ever taste the fire of power. Part 10, the final command. Fear the man who hides his plan. This is the truth you must engrave into your mind. Never tell people what you do. Never reveal your plan. Never expose your hand. Because the moment you reveal, you are no longer a threat. You are a target. Machiavelli warned rulers to be feared, not for their strength alone, but for their silence. He said, "Fear the man who hides his plan." Why? Because that man is unpredictable. That man is dangerous. That man cannot be stopped. Think carefully. The enemy you can see, the rival who speaks too much, the man who brags about every step. He is easy to defeat. You know what's coming. You know how to prepare. He destroys himself with his own mouth. But the silent man, the one who hides his intentions, the one who moves without warning, he is the one who terrifies. He is the shadow in the room, the storm on the horizon, the predator in the tall grass. You never know when he will strike. You never know how he will move. And that uncertainty crushes the spirit before the battle even begins. This is the law of power. Conceal your intentions until your victory is already certain. The weak crave recognition. They want to announce every step. They want validation for their effort, even before they achieve. But in doing so, they dilute their power. They spend energy on appearances instead of results. And in the end, they lose both. You must be different. You must be cold. You must build in silence, guard your plans, protect your moves as if they were sacred. Let no one see what you are building until it is too late to stop you. Because here is the secret. Mystery multiplies your power. When people cannot read you, they overestimate you. They assume you are more dangerous, more prepared, more powerful than you may even be. Their fear of the unknown becomes your ally. And when you finally strike, when you finally reveal what you have built, the world will have no defense. Because while they were busy watching the loud, predictable men, you were sharpening your edge in silence. Never forget, power is not just what you do, but what others believe you are capable of. By hiding your plan, you control that belief. You control perception. You control fear. So let this be your final command. From this day forward, do not announce. Do not explain. Do not reveal. Let your silence be your shield, your patience be your strategy, and your results be your roar. Do this, and you will become the man Machiavelli warned about, the one to be feared, not because of what he says, but because of what no one can see. So I ask you now, are you ready to become that man? Are you ready to cloak yourself in silence, to strike with precision, to dominate without permission? If you are, comment this right now. Fear me, for I hide my plan. Let it be your declaration, your vow, your transformation. And remember, this is only the beginning. If you want to continue sharpening your mind, if you want to keep forging yourself into something untouchable, then do not stop here. Like this video. Subscribe to Mental Fort. Turn on notifications, because every lesson, every strategy, every command I deliver is another weapon for your rise. The world will never hand you power, but with silence, discipline, and strategy, you will take it. Never tell them what you do. Focus in silence. Win in public, and let them fear you, not for what they know, but for what they cannot see.